Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. It is Coach Fury here today, and we are back with the latest episode of our Let's Play series of Draft Day Sports College Basketball 21 in the multiplayer league of the CBGM, run by GM Games. And well, we are in episode 15 now. We are well into the recruiting phase of the second season. And for those of you caught up with the episode that I put out yesterday, you've seen that we were chasing 3 5-star talents, and today we're going to just do a little bit of a recap to see if we've managed to entice any of them into the program here at Michigan, or whether we're now staring down the barrel of maybe second and third options. So let's dive straight into it, shall we? So here is the recruiting screen for Michigan, so the recruiting class that we have, and you will see that one of our 5-star players that we were chasing and put a scholarship offer out to and was pitching to last episode has decided that he is going to come to Michigan next year, and that is none other than Garrett Berry, who was a top 10 player at the Indy camp, and I don't believe he played in the Chicago camp, but you know, look at the ratings here. He is a phenomenal center, really good inside scoring, great rebounding, awesome defense and stealing ability. And he is the ranked national 2 player in his position, number 12 overall nationally across the board. And well, I'm really excited to bring him in next season. It's gonna be fascinating to see how he does, and we'll talk a little bit more about how he fits in a minute as we head over to the roster screen. So obviously, why were we looking at bringing in Berry? Well, the obvious thing is that we have Bernie Sweetwine, who is heading off next year because he is a senior, so this is his last year in Michigan, so we need to find a replacement for him. We do have Peter Graves, the freshman who we brought in we recruited last year, brought in this year, who looks like a pretty good player. I mean, on the look of it, he looks like he's going to be realistically a good bench player for the college game. He's probably not going to be that efficient scoring wise. He also possibly lacks a bit of discipline and a bit of defensive ability that I would necessarily want from our centre. So that was the concern, was that whilst Graves looks like a good player, good rotation piece for a good program, he is probably not the type of starter that we want. We're going to have a massive hole next year regardless, because Bernie Sweetwine is leaving us, and he is without doubt our best player at the moment. So we do have some gap there that we had to address, and I think that bringing in Berry is going to kind of address that. So if we go back to the recruiting class that we have been chasing this year, so we have 2 other guys that we still have an offer out for, and we're still going to be pitching to this export and this sim to see if we can bring them in. So that is none other than Robert Samuel. We talked a lot about him last time, the Indy Camp MVP, who is from Michigan, and well, we're just basically going to keep going and see if we can entice him in, beating out some of the probably more prestigious programs of Michigan State, Xavier, and Kansas, really. And we'll probably have a little bit more of a look in terms of maybe giving him another call, seeing if we can narrow down that school prestige, playing time, location factor that he's currently got on the minute. So we're still in play for him, and we're also still in play for Derek Womack, who I think we may have dropped down 1 place after the last pitch. So that's interesting in itself. That maybe indicates that we probably aren't pitching the right area to him. So we're going to again give him a call this episode and see if we can find out exactly what he wants, to make sure that we can kind of give ourselves a bit of an edge over some of the other schools that are in here. And this is going to be close competition. As I said, his focus is playing time, location, and well, everyone in sort of his immediate region is chasing him. None other than Cincinnati, Wisconsin, Purdue, and Notre Dame as well. Obviously, Duke are in there as well, now hot. So that's kind of a bit of a very nice, prestigious blue blood program is also going after him. So we're going to see how it goes with those 2 guys, and we're going to give them a call in a minute. But obviously, we are now sort of staring down the barrel that possibly these guys are going to go to other programs next sim, and we might end up in a situation where we are looking at a little bit of a gap in our recruiting where possibly other guys might move on. I mean, I'm fairly confident that we've recruited and scouted fairly well. So there are some guys I know who have cool interest across the board and not many offers, who I would be absolutely delighted still to get. And we'll talk about them probably in future episodes. But let's head on over and see if we can get the pitching right for Womack and for Samuels, and make sure we at least put ourselves in our best possible position to bring those two guys in. Right, let's have a look. So Robert Samuel. So I think the first thing we need to do is I want to ask about school prestige, playing time again. Maybe go with that and see what happens. So let's give him a call. And we're obviously going to talk about pitching areas. So prestige is his number one priority. Okay, that's pretty clear. I don't think we need to call him again. That's an easy one for us to address. We will definitely be pitching prestige to Samuels and seeing if we can get that one over the line in this next export. So we'll wait for this to load back up again. And clearly we are going to go pitch, prestige. Come on, Samuel. You know you want to come over to Michigan. That would just be an amazing front court if we managed to bring in Berry and Samuel. That would just be a phenomenal result for us. So we've got Derek Womack. Playing time and location is something I need to find out realistically which one he's worried about the most. So let's give him a call. Again, we're going to go pitch areas and we're going to go playing time. Okay, he's not interested in that. And location is very important. Playing time, still not getting the right kind of conversation I want. I just want to know which one is the main preference here. And I think honestly it might well be that they're neck and neck, and he's worried about both. So we will certainly need to think about this one. So in terms of where we are still, it's still playing time, it's still location. Let's have a look. Is there any other indications we've got in the recruiting notes? So it says here that playing time is his top concern in any school. I think we still go with the playing time. I think that's still the right way to go. So playing time, going to visit you again, see if we can get you over the line, Womack, and make sure that one happens for us. So obviously now we've got to think about sort of second and third options, and I'll certainly do that off episode, because I don't want to give away possible other targets, because it's going to become a complete and utter fight to the death for some of these remaining guys who are around. But let's end the episode and just have a look at the other guys who have actually committed in terms of the top recruits, just so we get a little sense of it. So you'll see here that Barry Barrows, that's a fantastic name, has decided to go to Texas. Not really surprising. I think, given the region and everything, he's a nice pickup for Texas. I guess the interesting thing is that Holloway, who you may remember if you've watched in the GM Games episodes, Cards, the GM for Louisville, was adamant that he was coming to Louisville. Kentucky snuck in there and managed to snag him and Kieran Ellie, the 8th overall. So they have the 2nd and 8th overall recruit coming to Kentucky. I mean, that's phenomenal recruiting there. No surprise again that North Carolina has had a fantastic class as well by the looks of it. Ivan Tatum, who just looks like an absolutely incredible shooting guard, and Michael Robinson, who on the paper basis of it doesn't necessarily look that good, but I'm guessing his camp was good considering that Carolina went in there and got him. And then obviously Louisville lost out on Holloway, but they managed to pick up the 23rd ranked recruit in Casey Houston, who looks pretty good in terms of his ratings as well. So I guess that's kind of interesting. Mixed bag of other guys, other teams snagging in there, West Virginia and Tennessee, and Purdue obviously managing to snag 2 guys as well in Joseph Bannon, which is pretty good, and Nate Morcia, who I think is a really good prospect. He was my backup option for Samuel, really, and he was a top 5 guy at Chicago, but he went early. Interesting that they brought in 2 power forwards, so I'm not sure how that's going to play out. I guess in terms of other things, Maryland have picked up 2 guys in Mitchell and Rutledge. Tennessee have also managed to pick up two guys inside top 50, well, just outside the top 50 actually, in terms of bringing in Conway and I believe Austin Fry. So they brought in a point guard and a centre there to address that. I guess the bad news for us is in terms of Ohio State has picked up 3 really good players in my opinion. Duke Han, who we looked at a little bit, Terrence Kennedy, and Nick Green. So Nick Green was a guy that I was very hot on early on, and I decided to move into Womack. I felt there was more opportunity there, basically because his preference was academics and location. I think Ohio is slightly better than us in some of those areas. So well done for Ohio for grabbing those guys. They had a much better recruiting class this year than they did last year. But it puts a bit of pressure on us in the Big Ten, because it looks like they're obviously going to have a pretty strong team coming into next season. So that's how the recruiting's looking for us at the minute. Obviously, I'm absolutely delighted that we managed to get Garrett Berry. As I said on the last episode, if we got one of the three, then that's a phenomenal recruiting class, to be perfectly honest with you. We've addressed realistically our main concern going into next year, and that is not having an elite centre. And even if we only managed to recruit Garrett Berry and we just add him to this rotation, we're still going to be probably in a similar sort of status to where we are now, in my opinion. We're not losing much else. Obviously, we're losing Iacona, but we can address that with Geeson and the likes of Brown, who I think Brown's going to develop into quite a nice prospect, if I'm honest. So we've got guys who I think can fill gaps. Obviously Buchanan is another guy as a junior, so we could sort of carry on as we are. And obviously we still have Belez, who's probably going to continue to develop this year. So we're going to be in a good situation still. We're still going to be a good team, I feel, on paper. I think, look, to be perfectly honest with you, if we got Samuel in, that would just be incredible. Really incredible. I again, as I said, I don't expect to get both of these guys, but I feel now we're in. If we've got to carry on and we've got to see it through, regardless of what happens. If we got Womack, that would probably revolutionise our game plan next year, in the fact that we'd actually have a decent point guard, and that would just be the icing on the top, really. That would probably, in my opinion, take us from being a good team in the Big Ten to probably being one of the better teams, and that means maybe tournament chances possibly being better than a second round exit that we had this year. So that's kind of what we're looking at. But I guess recap, really happy with Berry coming in. Roster is pretty much now in a situation where it's going to at least stay on the status quo setting next year, in my opinion, with Berry. And yeah, we'll see what happens with these 2 5-stars. We'll come back next time, probably recap whether we've managed to entice them into the Michigan program, or whether we're now looking at maybe a third, fourth option, and talking a little bit about how we're going to try and do that to address some of the concerns that we might have with the roster, to try and hopefully build that depth up going forward for this Michigan program. As always, guys, really interested to hear your thoughts in terms of how you think that this recruiting's gone. I mean, are you delighted like I am in terms of bringing in Berry? What do you think our chances are with the likes of Samuel and Womack? Are we just going down the treasure chest and looking at the end of the rainbow and not seeing anything in the end? Or do you think we'll manage to get one of these two, maybe both of them? Interested to hear your thoughts. As always, hit that like and subscribe button, and you can follow the action as it happens for this Michigan program in the CBGM. And we'll continue recruiting, we'll continue trying to bring guys in, and continue to improve this Michigan program.